Crystal Maiden here, and now we're moving on to the dark story of Sonic Adventure 2. And like I said in the previous part, the dark story has the better story, but inferior gameplay. It has a higher emphasis on mech levels, and the treasure hunting levels somehow manage to be even worse. I love the atmosphere here. And this creates intrigue right from the start, because for once we have Eggman, who is bursting into a metal facility.
Secret military weapon. The military shut down the research because they
Like, for once we have Eggman joining in the action, instead of him sending his robots to do all the work and stuff.
Assume level 1 defense formation.
The running theme I've noticed with most of Eggman's levels is that they tend to be really dark. They tend to take place indoors, and for some reason, I'm not sure why, when you destroy the robots, it lights up the room. Now I can understand this being maybe all of the robots run off the same energy that also powers the energy in the roomlet. But there's two problems with that. One, the room gets darker again after a while. Like, if you stay in the same room for a little while after defeating all the enemies in it, it'll go from being lit up to going dark again. And this is the perfect example of why the controls suck. I was intentionally doing that just to show off how stiff the controls are. That you can't just instantly turn 180 degrees. That you can't easily walk around in a circle. Like, again, I can't stress enough that Gamma was a much better gameplay style than this. But I've already made my complaints clear in the hero story. But yeah, my point is, one, it doesn't make any sense that the robots get destroyed and lights up the room because, well, the room goes back to being dark anyways, even though all the robots have been destroyed. And two, you've noticed that when you destroy Gun's robots, they drop these things that look like giant crayons. At least that's what I always saw them as anyways. Apparently, these things are chaos drives. That's right, the military of Sonic's world is so highly advanced technologically, they were able to harness the power of the Chaos Emeralds and put them into little things called Chaos Drives. And that's what powers their robots. They don't need badniks. And I've heard the explanation that Eggman uses the badniks, that Eggman uses the animals and badniks as CPUs, but I don't understand why he can't just make CPUs himself. And you don't really see that many of Eggman's robots in this game, unless it's in Hidden Base, where Eggman's robots are the main threat. It's not until after this game, starting with Sonic Heroes, when he stops using badniks altogether and starts using robots that aren't powered by animals. The rocket in this level is kind of annoying because you can't just immediately go forwards. No, you have to go forwards, and only then can you use the rocket. It's like they arbitrarily restrict you from firing the rocket until after. Well, I guess it's a good thing because you break the level otherwise. But still.
piece of cake.
But there's no way that Metal Sonic has an animal powering him because he has human intelligence. So in order for him to have a human brain with the animal in him, he'd have to have a human powering him, which is stupid. So I'm pretty sure he just has a highly advanced CPU.
Oh-ho. So this is the military's top secret weapon. It's a lot smaller than I expected. Enter user data. Enter password. Password is Maria.
That name will be pretty important later.
Now all I have to do is to place the Chaos Emerald into this console.
I love the atmosphere of this cutscene. The way the music plays and everything. I swear the cutscenes in this game feel straight out of a movie. That does a great job keeping you engaged. Why would you mistake him for Sonic? Just because he's a hedgehog?
You're not Sonic. This is impossible.
Why doesn't everyone react
My
that way?
name is Shadow. Since you were so kind to release me, my master, I will grant you one wish.
I love everything about that. The way his body movements are and the way he speaks. And the music that plays when he starts showing up. Just everything about that scene was choreographed perfectly. It just does a great job of creating the atmosphere. Shadow is basically a Sonic clone. He has all the same abilities as Sonic. And it's only fitting that he fights the exact same boss as the first boss of his story. Unfortunately, it's a little more annoying because it has a nasty tendency to shoot out these things when you're trying to attack it the first time that it lands. Oh, really, Amachow? Really? You don't say! God, Amachow loves to give Captain Obvious advice, but not give you the advice that you're actually looking for. It's like they didn't even playtest him. And instead of actually making him useful, they just made you able to beat him up. And even then you can't cause invisible damage and make him stop helping you anymore. Like when you attack him, he can say, I'm not going to help you anymore. But then he goes right back to helping you anyways. I like the rocket boots. I like the rocket shoes that he has. I'm not entirely sure whether they're a natural part of his body or not, because he was artificially created. But yeah, Shadow is basically a Sonic clone, and it's never really explained why. It's never properly explained why he somehow has all the same abilities as Sonic. Wouldn't you think that would be kind of confusing? Wouldn't you think that people would want to know the answer to that? Even in Shadow the Hedgehog, where they devoted an entire game to trying to properly explain his backstory, they still didn't explain why he has all the same powers that Sonic does. I think what they should have done for Shadow the Hedgehog was explain that he was created with the DNA of Sonic's ancestor, like his grandfather or something. That would have perfectly explained why he has all the same powers that Sonic does. And it would have explained why he's a hedgehog, when the prototype of the ultimate life form is not a hedgehog. But no, instead they had to explain why his fur is black and red, by making him related to aliens. Although, to be honest, Sonic has always been a mixture of sci-fi and fantasy, because you have a mad scientist that sends robots after you, so that's sci-fi, and yet you have magical powers and everything, so that's magic, fantasy. But it's always kind of weird when they have elements from purely sci-fi or purely fantasy in a Sonic game. People say it's out of place, so.
So, Shadow, you are the military's top secret weapon. But what did you mean when you said you will grant me a wish?
Bring more Chaos Emeralds.
Shadow, wait!
I'll be waiting for you.
He's saying
in the
wait, but he
central
hasn't
control
gone to
room
leave yet.
on the Space Colony Ark.
Ark.
I love his performance of that line. Like, in general, David Humphrey's performance as Shadow is great. It does such a good job of selling him as a great villain. Sometimes you have the exact same cutscene from the hero story
Yeah, we'll see about
in
that,
Dark
Batgirl.
Story. And when they evolve Rouge, they play Rouge's theme instead of Knuckles. And I think that Knuckles' theme suits that scene a lot better. Now, what I'm going to be doing for the story is that when I come across a cutscene that we've already seen, I'm going to show the very beginning and then I'm going to cut to the end. That way you don't wonder where you are in the story, but you also understand that I'm saving you a lot of wasted time. Annoying thing is that they don't do what SA1 did and have the exact same cutscene but with different lines. They don't have it different because it's shown from a different perspective. And you think there'd be even more of an emphasis on that because the whole point of the story is it's shown from either the hero's perspective or the Dark Story's perspective. So you think that they would take this as an opportunity to show what the dark side and hero side think of each other. Like portraying the dark side as more jerks to each other or whatever. But instead, everyone has the exact same dialogue. So there's really no point to showing off the cutscenes that you've already seen. But anyways, this is Dry Lagoon. This is basically a clone of Knuckles' first level, Wild Canyon. Like, it has generally the same structure, only instead of a fan that blows you upwards to an area like this, you go into a sinking turtle. And it's all grassy. I generally love the way it looks aesthetically. The weird thing about that previous cutscene is that the Master Emerald is there, but normally the Master Emerald is supposed to be in a shrine on a pretty grassy Angel Island. So did Rouge steal the Master Emerald off screen somehow and got it all the way to Wild Canyon? Or is Wild Canyon a part of Angel Island and the Master Emerald's resting place being retconned to be... I don't know. That emerald is kind of annoying to get because it looks deceptively difficult to get it. Rouge's first level isn't really that bad.
How is that? Perfect? Like me?
I love that line. It's such a perfect showing of her character. Perfect like me? And you wonder why I like Rouge. Like, I don't care about the way she looks and that, oh, she looks sexist. I don't care about that. She's a hilarious character. I love the theme that plays in Sand Ocean. This is such an awesome theme and I love it. Like, this is one of my not top 10 I guess, but this is easily one of my favorite themes in the franchise, is this theme. And it sucks that Hidden Base basically mangles this theme, because it, well, does it play a similar theme to this? I don't really think so. Or maybe it's just so heavily remixed that I can't even tell. But either way, I just love this theme. Sand Ocean isn't really that different from Hidden Base, aside from being dark. Because Eggman's the evil villain, we have to have all this level take place in the dark and make it difficult to see. I mean, this level isn't so bad. The torches and stuff do a great job of illuminating the level so that you can actually see where you're going. In general, I like the way this level looks. But then you come to areas like, well, I don't want to spoil the name, but there are more levels with Eggman where you destroy robots and light up the room. But again, it's so dark that you kind of have trouble seeing, and I hate dark places in video games because of that. I hate having to wait for these spinning platforms. I generally hate waiting in Sonic games in general. I mean, I don't mind platforming, even if it is slow, because they're still doing something. What I hate is just waiting around and doing nothing. That's not fun. That doesn't belong in a Sonic game. This level is definitely a lot better once you get the hover. And it makes it really glaringly obvious that this is where we should have gotten the hover upgrade. We shouldn't have had to wait until a later level to get the hover for... I mean, did anyone listen to the playtesters saying that Gamma felt a lot better with the hover? Why didn't they just make the mechs have the hover nozzles from the start? That doesn't make any sense to me. They feel so much better with the hover. In order to get an A rank for levels, you are required to find a gold beetle robot like that and destroy it, because that gives you a lot of points. The problem is that when you die, at any moment in a level, you lose all the score that you racked up. So, especially if you die at the end, it's getting an A rank pretty much requires that you no death run the level, which is especially annoying if it's a pretty hard level. And plus, something I really hate about ranking systems in Sonic games in general is that it's not entirely based on your speed. It's not entirely based on how fast you complete the level, which is bullshit because, you know, speed is the theme of the series. No, for some arbitrary reason, your rank is also based on the amount of enemies you kill and the amount of rings you collect. Even though that doesn't actually prove that you're good at the level, because anyone can collect a lot of rings and beat a lot of enemies, while only a skilled player can beat the level quickly, and collecting as many rings as possible, defeating as many enemies as possible is a direct hindrance to beating the level as fast as possible. So it's bullshit that's not just based on the speed that you complete the level. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why would they reward you for not beating the level as skillfully as you can? I'm pretty sure it's possible for speedrunners to get lower than A rank. And that's bullshit. And that's part of why I don't like ranking systems in Sonic games. Then they artificially pad out the amount of time it takes to get 100% completion if you care about this sort of thing. Because you got our A rank every single level and every single boss fight later on. And sometimes you need to do that for awards, which sucks. I never go back to a level to get a better rank. I do it because it's fun, I want to replay it. Sand Ocean actually shares its name with some racetracks from F-Zero, which is pretty hilarious in hindsight because later on Sega would actually go to make a F-Zero game called F-Zero GX, which is actually considered by many F-Zero fans to be the best one, even though it's too hard. So it's kind of ironic that Miyamoto kind of hated F-Zero GX, probably because it was too hard. But anyways, later in Shadow the Hedgehog, they would have two enemies. They would have two boss fights, the Black Bull and the Blue Falcon. They would have two boss fights in Shadow the Hedgehog that were basically references to F-Zero. Just to reference the fact that Sega made an F-Zero game. I'm pretty sure Sand Ocean was an unintentional reference, because, I mean, it's full of quicksand. And you sink to your death in the quicksand, rather than, you know, just staying still and dying of exposure really slowly. But whatever, it's a video game. See you in the next part.